Good morning, Beeville. This is Cindy Clark from PAC-B TV, and I am here this morning with Richard Doran, who just recently went on an honor flight to Washington, D.C., and I thought that Richard could tell us a little bit about the honor flight, how he got involved in it, what happened down there. Richard, good morning. Thank you for coming in here this morning. Richard, I understand you were in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
You were in the Marine Corps. Now, how did you get, you just went, when was this honor flight you went on? When was that?
September 30th.
Okay, so you went, how many, do you know how many other people were on the bus with you?
82 veterans,
Okay,
82 chaperones or escorts,
escorts.
plus your volunteers, and then what I call permanent personnel. The veterans all wore red, the chaperones wore green, the volunteers wore yellow, and the permanent people wore blue. So,
Well, they're easily identifiable.
Yep.
Well, you get a large group of people, you gotta have a handle on it.
right.
So how did you get involved in going on this honor flight?
Well, I'd heard about it over the years because they'd have it on television that when they had a flight, you know, they'd show them at the airport. But never really considered it until I was at the gym that I went to, and a bunch of my friends, we got talking about it. And after I left, they conspired to put me on it. And they next thing I knew, I had an application on my computer, so I filled it out, and they accepted me,
And there you are.
and there I am.
There you are.
Then they got a couple of letters telling you what it was all about and where you were going, and I had a nurse call me. They're all volunteers too, and she called me and she said, I'm not sure, I think she said they had a nurse for every 10 people.
Okay.
And on our bus, she was on our bus. And that's how it got going for me.
All right, well then, you went, you had, I presume you got, it was the bus took you, did you have a bus from your house to the airport, or was the bus just down in Washington D.C., or taking you?
No, my goddaughter came up from North Carolina to go with me, and she drove my car. We went to the airport, and the minute you drive in, the parking is, you know, the directions were great. She just dropped me off, went to park. The minute I got off, there was volunteers. Do you need a wheelchair? I'll walk in. Everybody was helping you, and I didn't need a wheelchair. I did ride a wheelchair a little bit in Washington at one stop, but and we went upstairs and waited for Donna to come in, and then we checked in. Checking in was very simple. They had, if you were initial A to Z or A to the something, you went here and there, and so bing, 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 and we had to wait maybe a half hour, and then we boarded the plane. And they gave you, when you landed in Washington, they gave you, I never heard of this, a water cannon salute over the plane.
Oh.
And you got the same when you came home back to Syracuse.
Well, that was in honor of all the veterans, right?
Yeah.
Is that where they do, like with the pilots when they retire too?
Probably.
That type of thing with
I
the
would
water
imagine,
going as the
yeah.
plane goes through?
Yeah.
What an honor that is.
Yeah.
It is. So anyways, you get to, where do you go from the plane? Where do you go? What location do you go after that?
Well, we were in the airport. We had to wait for the buses to come a little bit. Once we boarded the buses, we started right out. We went right to the World War II Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, this is very organized. When we stopped, the guy in charge of our bus would tell us that if we needed a wheelchair, they'd be with some when we got off. And the bus would leave at a certain time. And we would be back there. And at a certain time, they were going to take a group picture, and which they did. And everybody's back on at the same time. And then we went on to the next memorial.
What other memorials did you see?
Well, then from there we went to the Lincoln Memorial.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, I hadn't seen that before years ago, but we stopped there, and of course, we were on the edge of, is that they call the tidal basin, isn't it?
Yes.
And then, of course, you can see the Washington Monument, the other end. And I tell my goddaughter where we were standing, I said, that's where Forrest Gump wandered in to see Jenny in the water. And then we went on down the trail and to the Vietnam Wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know of all the people from Bevo. I actually didn't think about Lorenzo at the time, and I knew him. But I looked for, I was going to look for Doug Page's name. And there was a woman volunteer happened to be there. And she looked, and we were one block, one
Piece. I know what you're talking about because I've been there.
They're in
One
sections.
section, right?
We were one section away.
Right.
And she moved over and pointed up, and I saw that. Then we had a box lunch there, and we carried with us, and we stopped on the bench. And then after that, we wanted about another quarter of a mile down. We went to the Korean Memorial, and that's very impressive. They have like 13 statues of soldiers, and I'm not sure what the 13 means, whether it was for the 13 countries that might have been involved. I'm not sure on that. And then we came back, and there was some music playing in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and we stopped there for a few minutes. Then we got on, then we went to the Iwo Jima Memorial, which is what I wanted to see. 'Cause I donated for that one. When we were in boot camp, they told us, you will donate. I think it was $1, so of course we only got $76 a month. So
That was a lot of money.
and I took a lot of pictures, and of course I'd very impressed with that Iwo Jima Memorial. You know that the one at the bottom, holding the pole at the bottom, you know, he was misidentified for 2 years.
Really?
Oh yeah. If you ever read the book, Flags of Our Fathers, it was written by James Bradley. He's the son of Doc Bradley, the Navy corpsman that helped raise the flag. When they came back from Iwo Jima, the 3 they brought back for go on a bond tour, Ira Hayes, the Indian, he walked in and he looked at the picture they had on there, and they had the names, and he told them that was wrong. And they said, shut up. Everything is set, we don't want to. So for 2 years he was misidentified.
I never knew
And
that.
after the service, Ira was working in his field in Arizona. He walked out of his field, hitchhiked to Texas, and looked up Harlan's father and told him. He said that was Harlan. And that started the whole,
The whole ball rolling to correct it.
yeah.
Yep.
So after that, we went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
That was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's where we all had, they told us we all had to ride in a wheelchair because we were going to sit there while they changing of the guard.
Right.
And that was, fortunately, it was kind of a cloudy day, and so the sun didn't affect us. The only time the sun came out when we were sitting there. And then after that, we went to the Air Force Memorial. And that's when I told this woman that was on our bus telling us, she mentioned the 2 Medal of Honor winners from Syracuse that were buried at Arlington. And then I asked her if she ever heard of Forrest Vasler, and she said no. And she looked him up. And then at the end of the memorial, there's a marble wall. And I said, there's his name right there. So I added a little bit to her itinerary.
Right, right. When she narrates the next one, she can add his name to it.
And then we returned to the airport, and
Did you go to the cemetery? Did you go to Arlington?
yeah, that was where the tomb
That
of
was
the
where.
unknown soldier.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And returned to the airport, and on the way home, and my goddaughter didn't tell me everything. She left a little bit to surprise. They had what they call mail call, and they handed me this envelope. There were letters from some friends of mine. Congratulations, you know. And also one of the ladies at our church must have went over to the St. Mary's school, and all the kids drew pictures of flags and everything, and congratulations, and they all sent me one, you know. And the same with this teacher in Weedsport did the same. And she had her class design this pin, which is a beautiful
It's
pin.
impressive. It's very impressive.
And a friend of mine who was on a previous flight said he got one from there too.
So they do this for all the honor flights,
so
or have for a while, or?
So he must have done it for more than mine. But altogether, I got 63 letters. Yeah. And then, of course, we got back to the airport. And we're walking through the airport, and Fairleigh County, all of a sudden, there's this line of legionnaires, and they all got flags, and they're all shaking hands and congratulating you. And somebody handed me a quilt. Some woman did a table with quilts. This quilt was made by, in fact, I just sent her a thank you card. She lived in Oneida. She made this quilt. And
How nice.
then we lined up, and they had a drum and bugle corps upstairs. When we got downstairs, they had another drum and bugle corps. And they led us in a parade. I looked over, and my friend of mine, Jeff, and his wife from the gym were there, and Jody Nesbitt and her husband, Dr. Nesbitt, were there, and they're all waving, you know. And then we had a ceremony, and Dan Cummings was the master of ceremonies.
Okay.
And we had a couple of speakers. They had the
Now this was right at the airport.
yeah.
Okay.
They had the I couldn't believe the crowd, just everybody. And then they had the Tom Dooley Singers, and they must have been about 15 of them, and they sang the first verse of all the service songs.
Oh.
And then they sang "God Bless America."
Oh.
I'm getting choked up again.
I know.
thinking about it.
I wasn't even there, and
And,
I can feel it.
It was just it was a fantastic day. I think it does a lot. There were 62. I don't know if I mentioned it. There were 82 veterans, 82 escorts. So you know, there's 164 people there, plus the volunteers, and all the volunteers that were at the airport, but it was so well organized. I'm thankful I went, and I thank the people that sneakily got me onto it. And
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing that everybody can be recognized in the later years too. You know, it's been a lot of years since you were in the service, and you know, we've gone full circle here.
they gave us this pin here. I don't know. It says honor flight, and on the back it has all the emblems of all the services.
Now, is that a pin or just a
That's
a
just
little
a coin.
coin
Yeah.
type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mentioned it, that when we got on the, I know I told you before, but when we got on the bus, our bus was number 3. And when we got on, they handed us a card, and we put my name and my escort's name on, you tagged it to the seat where you were sitting. Every time you got off the bus and back on, that was your seat. There was no scrambling for
No
seats.
confusion. No
Right.
confusion, right.
Just, and when you got off, they'd ask you, do you need a wheelchair? You know, and everybody thinks different, you know. Some people, maybe that saw action wouldn't want to go on one of these. But it does bring back memories. But I think it rejuvenates the patriotic enthusiasm for everybody.
I agree.
I couldn't believe the crowd at the airport. It was just fantastic. And of course to see my friends there, you know, they came special.
It was,
Oh.
I'm sure it was just a great day for everybody.
And
Well, Richard,
that's about it, I guess.
I thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to your country and all the people that went with you. And thank you for taking the time to come and explain all this, because I know we can never forget, some of the younger generation, they didn't grow up during these times through all the wars, so they don't know, and they don't know the patriotism because they weren't involved in it. And I think it's great that people can be recognized for the service that they gave to their country, and, to show the respect and honor due them. Thank you very much for coming here today, Richard. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
And I think that I appreciate the letters I got from all the school children. It's nice to see that they got involved, and because hopefully in the future years this country is going to be in their hands.
That's right. That's right.
So.
Well, and another thing too, you said all the costs are covered through donations,
Yeah.
through corporate and individual donations. So we got to keep this going. So there's always, I'm sure always, donations are appreciated from companies, businesses, individuals. But again, Richard, thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate it, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you.